do a DUI and run over a guy's foot and doesn't understand why she got 8 years in prison for it. And she's just doing her best with the Lord and Savior Jesus Christ in sexy pictures, trying to make life in prison bearable. We find out that Scott has given her over the course of 2 years at least $20,000, and that, you know, she can't wait to be with Scott forever and ever and ever and never leave him. She also lets him know that the reason why she needs that little room to be her own personal closet is because she has like over 200 pairs of shoes, or at some point she did have over 200 pairs of shoes, and she is planning on replenishing every single one of those 200 pairs of shoes. So Scott better be ready, and he's, you know, ready and willing to spend all this money on her. So he better do some overtime and pick up some more shifts, because she's about to spend all of his money. They're both living in a fairy tale. I can't even move them. Okay, so next we have Andrea and Lamar. So this is the day before Andrea is supposed to pick up Lamar. Andrea is in her house and she's with her friend Stephanie. Stephanie is her only Mormon homegirl who would come over and help her lay her tracks. You know, Stephanie came through. And I have to say that of all the weaves I've seen on reality TV, and it hasn't been very many, but of all the ones that I've seen, Andrea's is laid, okay? Laid and slayed. Her edges are laid. Her weave looks good. It doesn't look raggedy. I'm just like, okay, Andrea, I appreciate all of you. Thank you so much, Black Girl, for coming through. You know what I'm saying? She's with her friend Stephanie. Stephanie's adding another track in the back with the sew in, you know what I'm saying? And Andrea's telling her about the disaster of her bachelorette party and how Stephanie is the only friend who is still supporting her through this situation. And she starts to cry. Her baby girl Priscilla is sitting in there in the beginning. She sends baby girl in the back and she starts to cry with her friend Stephanie, and Stephanie's just like, you know what, you have 9 hours driving through the desert to go pick him up, and you need to think and pray about this whole entire situation and if it's the right thing for you. Andrea is really torn because she feels like being with somebody who isn't Mormon is going to take her off the righteous path, and she prays to God and she fasted and she did all these things to see if Lamar was the right person for her, but she really feels like he is, and that's her soulmate. I don't understand why him being in prison is like, besides the emotional stuff of being in prison, and besides the fact that she's bringing this guy that she doesn't actually know in real life around her 3 kids, I don't think anything is necessarily wrong with her falling in love with Lamar. The issue to me is her kids. That is really the main issue for me, is that she has kids, and so it feels irresponsible for her to do that. And she says that in her confessionals. She says, am I being crazy bringing this man around my kids, doing all these things, and I'm trying to pray on it, but he really does bring me joy and makes me happy, and I feel like I can help him turn his life around, like all this stuff. And I'm just like, you know what, as long as she realizes that she might be making a mistake, I can't hate on it too much. It's the ones that are just so oblivious and refuse to think about any of the bad things that can happen that I think makes me upset. And like I said, I was going to reserve my judgment of Lamar in the situation until I actually saw him. So the next scene we have with them is that she's packed up, she's ready to leave. Her and her kids are coming out of her condo to her car. Actually, his car, the one that she bought him, she's driving his car to, I didn't tell you guys that in the last episode. So yeah, she bought him a car. She went to a CarMax or something, girl, and then was telling the salesperson all her business, and it was real awkward about Lamar being in jail for 18 years and needing a car and all. It was like, girl, TMI. And her daughter, Nyla, is not okay with it. Nyla is like, my mom wants me to really like Lamar and accept Lamar, but like, I don't know him and the stranger is coming into our house. And then Andrea is like, Nyla is upset because she's used to the family unit just being me and her siblings. And so having Lamar come to the house, she feels is, you know, a breach of that. And I'm like, she's right. She is correct. Her feelings are okay. And if she is not okay with you doing this and bringing this man into her house, she's allowed to feel that way. I think that the parents in this scenario sometimes like feel like because they're the parents and they pay all the bills that they're the only ones that are allowed to have opinions and feelings. And that's not true. Nyla is held captive in this situation, and you are forcing this situation on her. You're forcing it on her. There's nothing else that she can feel besides anger and betrayal. So they have a little prayer circle, and the brother is bothering the ish out of Nyla, and Andrea is so upset, and it makes me feel like kids don't play around during prayer. Like, stop making it seem like they're being the worst kids on the face of this planet. She's just mad at Nyla. She just really wants Nyla to be on board, and Nyla is not, and I think it's weird that she isn't more understanding of Nyla's feelings, but you know, whatever. So she leaves and she drives to pick up Lamar, and when she gets there, she's so nervous, girl. She's in her house slippers in the desert, and I don't know why. I'm like, what? Why don't you have real shoes on? I get that you drove there in house slippers, but why are you like in the desert outside on TV with slippers on? Anyways, so she's waiting for him, and she talks about the fact that she sees the other people who are actually waiting to visit people, and that how she'll never have to be in that line again to be the one to visiting. She is here for the last time to pick up her man, and the bus comes through with him. He gets off of the bus with like a clear bag full of his belongings, and he is just like, I haven't been outside of those prison walls in 18 years. And I got a little teary-eyed. She was so happy. He was so happy to see her. Girl, he's cute. You know what I'm saying? He's a good-looking black man. You know, she's so excited. She's jumping up and down. He opens the car door for her, and he has my heart. That simple gesture, he won me. So they get into the car, and she's so excited. They're holding hands, and he's just like, man, you know, it's crazy to be out. And then in his confessional, he's talking about how, like, he's just ready to move forward, ready to make good decisions, you know, ready for this, so happy and excited that he has a strong, beautiful woman by his side to do this with. The world of being in prison, how it became his home, but it never really became his home. And so he's ready to just be free, make roots, move forward with his life. I was really endeared to him at that point. So at this point, I'm just like, oh, thank God Lamar isn't like, yeah, my name Baby Nook from Public B2B. Like, I'm just so happy. I'm just so happy. So that ended to me on a good note. Next, we have Alla and James. So Alla is 27 years old. She was in prison for distribution of heroin, and, you know, she was a drug addict. And I'm going to say right now, I think Nala is still on something. Something in her eyes is like glazed over a little bit. And it makes me really sad for James, who I think is a good catch. And I think he's handsome. And I'm just like, I hope she does right by him and doesn't steal all his money. Alla is at her parents' house, and Alla is like Eastern European or something. She's like Russian. Her father's name is Dmitry, which leads me to believe that like they're like Russian or Croatian or, you know, some ex-part of the USSR. You know what I'm saying? Like Eastern European, you know? She talks about how her mom has been a huge support for her, and that her going to jail was a huge disappointment for her family, and how excited her mom is. It's been like a couple hours since she's been out of prison. She's at her mom's house. A family friend is coming over to touch up her roots, so she's getting her hair done. She's talking about James and how his family doesn't know that she's been in prison, and that they're going to do their best to like talk about it to them. And she talks about how in the prison system, pen pals, like that's how she got to know him, is that because she put herself up on this site, she would get a lot of mail from a lot of different guys, and she never really like liked any of the guys. And then she met James, and she just fell in love with him. They started writing back and forth, and that was the guy that she, you know, like really got into. And she talked about how when the pen pal system happens, it's so transactional. Like most of the time, girls are in there are just looking for tricks, people to scam, people to get money from. Lizzie, it's really easy to do that in prison when you have that sort of that pen pal program that's available and you do it online. And actually in real life, a guy told me that he knew about that website, and I was just like, no, how do you know about it? So on James' side, while she's getting her hair done, James is getting flowers for her and her mother. He's just saying, you know, I want like a congratulatory type bouquet of flowers. And she's just like, oh, congratulations for what? And he's like, my girlfriend just got out of prison. And the lady behind the counter held it together very well. He gets the flowers, they're beautiful. And he prepares to go over to Alla's house. We jump back to Alla, and we see that she still has her apartment. So apparently while she was making her money in New York City, she gave all that money to her mother before she went into prison, and her mother and father maintained her apartment for 5 years. They're not in New York City now, so I'm confused as to her timeline of going to New York City, getting on drugs, and then coming back to Wisconsin, I guess. I'm not sure what it is, but whatever money she had laid aside, she gave to her mom, and her mom maintained her apartment. So everything in her apartment is the exact same from 5 years ago. Clothes, all of it. You know, she's in her closet, unable to decide what she wants to wear, overwhelmed, and she's like kind of like running around, and I'm just like, you're on drugs, girl. Like, sums up. You got something. We find out that James's father is a police officer. Oh my God. Dun, dun, dun. So then breaking the news that his girlfriend just got out of prison is going to be very hard for James. I mean, very, very hard for James. Their family is going to judge, and he doesn't want them to judge, but they are going to judge. They are going to judge. Especially if she's like being weird, which I feel like she very well might be weird because she looks like she's still on drugs. We end with the scene of them meeting and seeing each other and hugging and kissing, and they're all over each other and so excited. She's so excited to see him. She's like pulling him down, and it's just like, okay. All right. There's 2 more couples that they haven't introduced yet. So we haven't gotten introduced to them yet. We probably will in the next episode, which I'm excited about. This was a really good episode and it left on a really high note. And I feel like everybody was in a good place except for Jana and Garrett. And I think that Jana caused that situation. All right, you guys, that is it for this episode. It's episode 2 of Love After Lockup. If this is your first time joining, please go on ahead and watch the show. If you'd like to have more in-depth conversation about this, I have a Facebook group on Facebook. The link will be down below. You just have to answer a couple questions and you'll be let in. If you don't answer the questions, you won't be let in. If you like what I do here on this channel and you would like to consider becoming a Patreon patron, please click the link down below and give to my Patreon. Otherwise, let's start a conversation down below. Let me know what you thought of this week's episode of Love After Lockup, and I will see you next week with my next week's review of Love After Lockup on WeTV. All right, you guys, thank you so much. Have a fantastic day. Bye.